It usually starts with something small, a fleeting scent on the breeze, the opening chords of a song you haven't heard in a decade, the specific golden slant of autumn sunlight through a window. In an instant, you're pulled backward, wrapped in a physical warmth and a deep sense of comfort. You are feeling nostalgia. When this happens, the emotional certainty of the memory is incredibly strong. It feels as though a secure mental archive has been opened, and your brain is playing back a pristine, high-fidelity recording of exactly what happened. But human cognition has strict limits. According to the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, we typically lose 50% of the sensory and experiential data from an event within a single hour after it occurs. Because the brain cannot retain every detail, remembering is an active, creative process. When you recall an event, you are relying on scattered neural fragments, piecing together a few stored data points in an attempt to reconstruct an entire scene from scratch. Which leaves us with a neurobiological paradox. If our brains are failing to preserve objective historical truth, why does biology reward us with immense comfort and euphoria for remembering a reconstructed, heavily edited past? To build a memory, a region of the brain called the hippocampus acts as a central search engine. It frantically pulls together distributed sensory, spatial, and contextual details spread across the cortex to rebuild the landscape of the past. When a memory is pulled into conscious awareness, it doesn't remain stable. The act of retrieval forces the neural memory trace into a labile state, breaking it apart. During this reconsolidation window, the brain weaves your current emotional state directly into the older network. Nostalgic recollection is a process of continual editing. The brain pieces together a version of the past specifically designed to serve current emotional needs. While the memory is vulnerable, the prefrontal cortex steps in as a protective editor. It actively strips away the mundane anxieties, the logistical friction, and the subtle stresses that actually occurred during the original event. This chart shows the evolutionary engine behind that editing process, known as the fading affect bias. Over time, the intensity of past negative experiences, the gray line, fades at a significantly faster rate than the emotion tied to positive experiences, shown by the stable blue line. As the brain curates this idealized highlight reel, the reward circuitry, specifically the ventral striatum and VTA, activates. It releases dopamine for pleasure and oxytocin to simulate the warmth of social connection. Nostalgia is an automatic, biologically engineered painkiller. When you experience acute present-day stress, existential dread, or severe loneliness, your brain deploys this synthetic emotional shield to keep you moving forward. Because the brain systematically removes the bad and amplifies the good, we experience rosy retrospection. We are left with a concentrated highlight reel, a flawless history that never actually existed. Evaluating our current messy lives against this fictionalized standard creates a serious cognitive trap. It leads to declinism, the belief that society and our personal circumstances are in a state of decay, simply because the present can never compete with a perfectly edited past. Repeatedly obsessing over these specific memories eventually alters their chemistry. Through a process called the bittersweet shift, continuous reflection drains the memory of its positive affect, leaving a vacuum where loneliness and specific regrets can intensify. When left unchecked, the brain's primary coping mechanism turns against us. We end up grieving for a romanticized era that is completely inaccessible to us. This neurochemical vulnerability extends far beyond our own private memories. External forces actively hijack these pathways, intentionally feeding us nostalgic triggers designed to manipulate our behavior. In consumer economics, sentimental longing satisfies a fundamental need for social connection. The brain treats having a tribe and having resources as interchangeable buffers. With this psychological need for security already satiated, the drive to save drops, making consumers willing to pay higher prices. On a societal level, this same dynamic is weaponized in politics. Political rhetoric leverages our rosy retrospection to romanticize deeply flawed historical eras. This national nostalgia creates a rigid collective identity, increasing outgroup hostility and driving support for populist movements. Nostalgia is a beautiful, necessary biological illusion. It is a highly adaptive mechanism engineered to help us endure the challenges of the present.
But when we mistake that curated comfort for objective historical truth, we allow a fabricated past to become a very real blueprint for our future.